This is the second of two videos on creating this X table within SOLIDWORKS. The first of which is in the surfacing section and covers how to create this with surfacing tools. And this will go into how to create this table using sheet metal. And I described in the other video that this geometry can be created using solid modeling approaches, meaning cuts, shells, and various other features here. But it actually gets quite a bit more complex to create than it would be to create in a sheet metal model or in a surface model. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new part, and we'll draw up a sketch on the front plane. So the first thing I'll create is this center rectangle. We'll make the origin the midpoint at the bottom. And then I want to give this dimensions. So this will be 12 inches tall and 12 inches wide. So I'll make these two equal. I also want to change this to a construction geometry, as this will be our base flange. So we need a gap at one of the sections. In this case, I'm just going to create the gap at the top of the part. From here, I'll create fillets at each corner of 0.65 inches. And then from this, we'll create a base flange tab at a length of 20 inches, which is a little bit longer than what we need, and we'll just be cutting away the excess. For the thickness, we'll choose 1/8 of an inch. And then from here, we want to create a cutout for the profile of the part. So I'm going to use an unfold feature and choose that bottom face as the fixed face, and then collect all bends and click OK. Next, I'm going to go ahead and create a sketch on this face. And I'm going to draw a center line and put a point at the midpoint. Then I'll go ahead and draw a vertical line. Place this at the midpoint and give it a dimension of 18.5 inches. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw in another 3 lines. And the dimension on this side will be 2 3/4 inches. And we'll just go ahead and make those two equal, and that'll fully define this sketch. Next, I want to go ahead and place center lines at each of these bends. And I'm going to use the mirror entities to mirror this about that center line. And then I'll do this a few more times. And one more time on the other side. From here, I need tangent arcs across each of these gaps. So I'll grab the tangent arc tool. And a key point about the tangent arc tool is that if you hover over the line that you want this to be tangent to, when you're at a corner, it should create the right tangent arc. Alternatively, if I were to hover over the straight line there, it may or may not select out the correct one. In this case, it still selected out the angled line. But on a few of these, you'll see, for example, in this case, it comes off incorrectly. So if that's happening, you can just hover over the angled line and you should get the correct arc. It looks like that's all of our tangent arcs. And we want one closed profile. So I'm going to go ahead and control select all of these vertical lines. And turn them into construction geometries. From here we can create an extruded cut. Link this to thickness. And just choose the flip side to cut. And we'll go ahead and fold this back up. And you can see now we pretty much have that same shape, aside from having the slight gap in the center. So the next step is to create cutouts on the sides. I'm going to go ahead and just move in an appearance. And then I'll create a sketch on this face. So I'll use the offset entities, reverse this, make this an inch, and I'm going to go ahead and delete out those two lines. And just as I stated in the surfacing version of this video, that in order to merge these points to the right place, you have to first drag them out to make them underdefined. Then I can merge these two together, and we can draw a line out collinear to this line and merge out these two corners. Lastly, for the sketch, I need a fillet of 1/2 inch. And then I want to place this sketch on these other two faces, which I'll do using a derived sketch. So we'll select out the sketch, control select this face, and choose Insert Derived Sketch. And we'll go ahead and make this collinear to this back edge, and just give this a dimension of 1 inch. And we'll go ahead and do the same on the other face. And this will need to flip, so we can go into the Sketch Tools and choose Modify. And if we right click on this dot, it's going to flip that over. Once again, make this collinear and give this a dimension of 1 inch. And from there we can create 3 extruded cuts. And if we wanted to complete this, or if we wanted to close this gap, we could always add in a loft from one face to the other, and that would give us that closed table. Just keep in mind that once we do close out this body with the loft, we do have merge result selected. So if you try to unsuppress the flat pattern, you're going to get an error. But that's how you create this geometry using the sheet metal features. Out of the two methods to create this, the sheet metal and surfacing, I do prefer the surfacing for two reasons. One, I find the surfacing to be a little bit simpler, or the surface model to be a little bit simpler. And you don't have to add this extra loft, which will add an error into the part in the surfacing model.